I don't believe we've ever wanted to get the stock way over intrinsic value so that we can issue it to other people and get an advantage for ourselves and a disadvantage for them. And I think the people that want the stock up very close to intrinsic value or higher really want egg in their beer. It's okay if it's a little below. And we're not in the game of ballooning our stock up as high as we can get it so we can issue it, more of it at a profit to ourselves. I think over the long term, our system will work pretty well, and I think the stock will eventually go above intrinsic value whether we like it or not.
Yeah. But we really watched a lot over the years of certain managers attempting to get their stock to sell for way more than it was worth so they could use it to trade for other companies. I mean, that was all the rage in the late 60s. One of the reasons I wound up my partnership was that activity was going on so much, and it affected all other values. And it was really a game, and it was a game that some people played sort of halfway honestly, and other people really cheated like crazy, because if you're trying to get your stock to be overpriced, you're very likely to cheat on your earnings and cheat on projections, cheat on everything. And it works, incidentally. It doesn't work indefinitely, but it works. Some companies whose names you know were to some extent built on that principle. That's a game that we not only don't want to play, we really found it very distasteful because we saw a lot of these people in action. And it comes in waves, and we don't want to come close to playing it. Unless I'm careful, Charlie will name names, so we better move on to shareholders. The nature, and this is something worth exploring generally, because the nature of boards is such that they're part business organizations and part social organizations, and people behave in some ways with their business brain, and they behave to some extent with their social brain. And I would say, and I said this, that in 55 years of being on corporate boards and 19 companies aside from Berkshire, I don't think I've ever seen a comp committee report come in and get a dissenting vote. And the social reason for that is that the board organizes itself in a way whereby certain activities are delegated to a smaller portion of the board, one being a compensation committee, and that committee presumably meets for a few hours or the day before the meeting, or maybe the morning of the meeting, and then they go into a board meeting, and the comp committee reports on its activities, and you've delegated that activity as a board member to that group. It's almost unheard of to question it. I'm not saying that maybe it shouldn't be questioned, but I'm just saying that that is the way it works. Now, bear in mind that the so-called independent directors on such a board are probably receiving maybe $200,000 a year, maybe $300,000 a year. Believe me, they are not independent. They're independent as measured by some standards, perhaps, of the SEC. But they, how would you feel about having a job that required you to go to work 4 or 6 times a year, pleasant company, certain amount of prestige attached with it, and on top of it you get paid maybe $300,000 a year, and you kind of hope to get another job like that? That is not independence. So you get a group coming in like that from the comp committee. And in those 19 boards, I was put on the comp committee exactly once. Charlie might be able to tell you exactly what the result was that time. They do not look for Dobermans. They look for Cocker Spaniels, and then they make sure that the tails are wagging. But that is, don't condemn it too much, because you and I are doing similar things in other parts of our lives. The social dynamics are important in board actions. My son Howard, in fact my other 2 children as well, if they were involved, they would have a dedication, and do have a dedication, to the culture of Berkshire, which is clearly defined. It's one of the reasons I want it clearly defined, and it's reinforced by the behavior, and it's reinforced by results. And incidentally, their job would not be to set the compensation. The non-executive board chairman is not there to select the compensation of the CEO or others. He's not there to select the CEO. He is there to facilitate a change if the board of directors decides a change is needed, and that can be important. Very, very, very unlikely to be important in the case of Berkshire, but it's a nice little extra safety valve. And Howie's the perfect guy to carry that out. And like I say, I voted for comp plans at various places, including way back, at Coke, that were far from what I would have designed myself, and the ones I designed myself would have worked. But that is the way boards work. I was made chairman of one comp committee, and Charlie can tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah. Warren was totally voted down at Solomon Inc. In fact, people acted like, what in the hell is he doing? How could he be disapproving compensation on Wall Street? And I think the general idea that a person should just shout disapproval all day long of everything he disapproves of is very suspect. In the world in which we inhabit, people accomplish more if they pick their spots. And knowing both Howie and Warren Buffett, I don't think you have to worry that they're going to go crazy or be soft and foolish just because they don't shout all the time about everything they disapprove of. If we all did that, we wouldn't be able to hear each other.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in any social organization, you keep belching at the dinner table, you'll be eating in the kitchen before very long, and people won't pay any attention to you. I mean, you really have to. You not only have to pick your spots, you have to pick how you do it. I mean, that could even be. I mean, sure, Charlie gives the marital advice around here, as you noticed in the movie, but it's not even a bad thought to keep in mind in marriage. I mean, in terms of attempting to change the behavior of others, which is you'll have a very limited ability to do in any event. It's not helped by shouting a lot.
I offend more people than you do, and I'm quite satisfied with your level of disapproval.
Hi, Mr. Buffett. Hi. And Mr. Munger. My name is Masato Muso, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. Berkshire is known to buy and hold companies for many, many years. But earlier in your careers, that was not known. And typically, acquisitions of other companies is very disruptive. Employees fear losing their jobs because of redundancy, and managers really have to think twice and be diligent about it. So my question is, what do you do to gain the trust of founders or owners of the companies you have bought out in the past?
Well, we've kept our word to them. So now we have to be very careful about what we promise, because we can't promise, for example, never to have a layoff in a business we buy, because who knows what the world holds. But we can promise that we won't sell their business, for example, if it turns out to be disappointing, as long as it doesn't run into the prospect of continuing losses or having significant labor problems. But we are keeping certain businesses that you would not get a passing grade at business school on if you wrote down our reasons for keeping them. But the reason is we made a promise, and we put that. We not only make the promise, we put it in the back of the annual report. Now we've done it for 30 years or so, where we list the economic principles, and we put it there because we believe it, but we put it there also so that the managers who sell us their business, the owners who sell us their business, know they can count on it. And if we behave differently, the word would get around, and it should get around. So we can make promises. We can't make promises we'll never change employment. We can't even make a promise that we'll keep a business forever. But we can promise what we do promise, which is that if it turns out to be somewhat disappointing on earnings, but does not promise sort of unending losses, or if we have labor problems, we can keep that promise, and we have kept that promise. We've only had to get rid of a few businesses, including our original textile business. We promised the managers, that they are going to continue to run their businesses, and believe me, if we didn't do it, the word would get around on that very quickly. But we've been doing it now for 49 years, and we have put ourselves in a class that is hard for other people to compete with if that's important to the seller of a business. A private equity firm is going to be totally unimpressed by what's in the back of our annual report. They don't care. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's their business. But for somebody that's built up their company over 20 or 30 or 40 years, and maybe their father or grandfather built it up even before that, some of those people care about where their businesses go. They're very rich. They've accomplished all kinds of things in life, and they don't want to build up something which somebody else tears apart very quickly because they're handing it over to a few MBAs who want to show their stuff. So we do have a unique, or close to a unique asset at Berkshire, and as long as we behave properly, we will maintain that asset, and really no one else will have much luck in competing with us. But it doesn't solve all problems. And frankly, it's the way we want to operate anyway. So we're comfortable with it. The sellers that do come to us, that care about their businesses, are comfortable with it, and I think it'll continue to work well. Charlie?
Well, obviously we behave the way we do because we like doing it. And number two, it's worked pretty well, and we're unlikely to stop.
Okay. You can tell he doesn't get paid by the word. Andrew?